let's talk about Weird Al, or sorry, Weird. Let's talk about Weird, the Al Yankovic story. I have a Roku, and so I have the Roku channel. I don't know if the Roku channel is on other devices. Probs not. So yeah, the Roku channel on Roku, I guess they're starting to dip their toe into more original productions. And this is the first or only one that I've seen where it's like, I'm interested. But the fact that it's Roku, I can't imagine that they have the same kind of budgets as an Amazon or a Netflix, if you will. And sure enough, I was correct. It's an $8 million budget for this movie. Whoa, dude. And considering the talent they got and how good it was, $8 million is a friggin' steal. Now, I don't necessarily know how they're going to recoup that because it never got released in theaters. I know there was a huge push to get it into theaters in time for the Oscars, and Roku is like, no, we're good. This is like, interesting. Why not just give it a, I mean, and the run would not have to be that insane. We're not talking about like a wide release, 3,000 theaters or whatever thing. I think it's like, maybe it just has to be in a theater for a week or something like that. Something crazy like that. And they were like, nah, we good. We gooch. And I got to say, maybe a misfire on their part. You submit it, you put it in a theater for a week or whatever the bare minimum is, and then you submit it, and then maybe it does get nominated, and then it gets a second wind. Like, for instance, Triangle of Sadness. If that was not nominated for an Oscar, I don't think it wouldn't be in my queue to watch list. All Quiet on the Western Front is another one where I've been tempted to watch it, but I was like, oh, God, it's so long, and I don't know if it's all in English, and I'm tired. It's like, and it's war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. And respect the troops. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so I think that maybe a misstep, because like The Whale. I don't know if like if Brendan Fraser wasn't nominated for an Oscar, I don't know if I would be wanting to search it out. Although I did recently find out, and this is sad, I just found this out, that it's an A24 project, which is like, they pretty much knock it out of the park every time. So what is this? It's a long-winded way to say that this Roku original production is a biopic, a music biopic, because a biopic is not rhyme. Biopic sounds like a procedure, a medical procedure. In and out, like, hey, you get a cyst, we'll do biopic on it. But no, biopic. Along the lines, in the same vein as Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man. And I would put this right up there with them. Explores every facet of Weird Al Yankovic's life, from his meteoric rise to fame with early hits like Eat It and Like a Surgeon, to his torrid celebrity love affairs and famously deprived lifestyle. So right there by the synopsis, I feel like that gives away a lot. Because if you are a Weird Al fan and you know who he is, then you know that he doesn't do drugs or drink or never has or anything like that, which is definitely weird. It's directed by Eric, I want to say Apple, but it's probably Appel. He's known for, it was also written by Eric, and he's known for Son of Zorn, Die Hard, which I believe was one of those shows that was on that, whatever that friggin' app was that went belly up. That it's a TV series, but I think it's going to be a movie now. And you can imagine who stars in it. That's right. Bret the Hitman Hart. No. Kevin Hart. And he, I think he might have directed a few episodes of Silicon Valley, or directed. But he was involved with that. And then, of course, Weird Al has a co-writing credit. It won the People's Choice Award for this category is weird for TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival. The People's Choice Award in the Midnight Madness category. I think that's how that's supposed to say. Because you can't just say People's Choice Award, because I guess they have more than one. I don't know. I remember like Hobo with a Shotgun, I think, won that Midnight Madness Award at either TIFF or South by Southwest. Anywho, got nominated, or Eric Appel was nominated by the Directors Guild of America for outstanding directorial achievement in movies for television and limited series for this movie. So you might think, Roku, $8 million budget, so low budgets on this. Like, they don't do a lot of original productions. Ugh, pass. Well, you'd be wrong. And I was wrong. I mean, this came out right around my birthday, November 8th or 9th of 2022. And I'm just getting around to seeing it now. And I'm kicking myself for it because I should have been spreading that hot gospel around the church for months now. And now I'm just getting to it. Bogus. So, and you'll see why. Look at this freaking cast, dude. Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al Yankovic. Daniel Radcliffe should win awards for this performance. Because, okay, he doesn't look much of anything like Weird Al. But him wearing the hair, the big curly hair, and the mustache, and the glasses, and just the level of commitment and intensity that Daniel Radcliffe brings to this role is Bermuda. It's cool. So good. He deserves awards. He just does. I mean, it was so incredible, his performance. Diedrich Bader was the narrator. Doesn't sound like, if you know Weird Al's voice, he's got a very distinctive voice. And Diedrich Bader was laying it on pretty thick, but does not sound like Weird Al. Part of the joke. Evan Rachel Wood as Madonna. And I thought to myself, well, with the way that they did her makeup and her hair, it's like, I get it. She's Madonna, but I was like, I would not have put those. First of all, Evan Rachel Wood in like a parody comedy, and I think it's mostly because I'm coming off of Westworld, where like I'm seeing her in Westworld, and like she has a great voice in Frozen 2. She plays the mom. She voices the mom in Frozen 2. So I was like, I know she's super talented. I just didn't think she had this in her. And my God, she crushes it. So good. I got a little thing for EVR. EVR? No, dude. ERW. ERW. Evan Rachel Wood. Yeah, I think, that whole storyline is ridiculous. And it's just, I felt like such a jackass because I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be, all right, it's the story of Weird Al. It's the Weird Al Yankovic story. Like, I'm going to learn about his childhood. I'm going to learn about his rise to fame. I'm going to learn about all these things that actually happened. And it's like, nah, dude. You are so old and you're so aware. Like you were 9 when was it UHF came out, that movie? Like, what's going on. Come on. And yet still I fell for it. And I was like, whoa, that didn't happen. Now come on now. And I started looking at the Wikipedia and I was just like, why am I doing this? I'm so stupid. Rainn Wilson is Dr. Demento, which I thought was a great pick. I mean, I'm not very familiar with Dr. Demento, but after looking at pictures and just hearing stories about Dr. Demento, I get a pretty good sense of like who that character should be. And Rainn Wilson is like perfect for that role. Toby Huss as Nick Yankovic, Al's estranged father, which, I thought that was when I first started. I was like, wait a minute. Because I was like, the reaction here is so over the top. This can't be true. And I was just like, I think that's when I started to get a clue. Hello. Julianne Nicholson is Mary Yankovic, Al's estranged mother. We got his friends, which I don't really recognize any of them. Thomas Lennon as the accordion salesman. Thomas Lennon, who played what was his name? I don't remember his name, but it was in Reno 911, where he's wearing the super short shorts. And he's also, he's written and been in a bunch of stuff. MTV's The State is where I first was introduced to Mr. Thomas Lennon. But I think he also did like the Night at the Museums series and a bunch of maybe some children's movies. I mean, he's just so good. He was also in Harold and Kumar's Christmas, White Christmas or whatever it was. But it was one of the earlier scenes because he plays the accordion salesman that sells or introduces Weird Al or sells Weird Al his first accordion, which is the devil's instrument, according to his father. And that scene where the father beats the shit out of the salesman is like all time. Arturo Castro as Pablo Escobar. You might remember Arturo Castro from Broad City. He was like their friend on Broad City. He was also recently in The Menu. He played one of the three finance bros who worked for the angel investor that ended up buying the head chef's restaurant. Man, you can say a lot of things about my brain, but sometimes it surprises you. Pablo Escobar. He did a really good Pablo Escobar too. Quinta Brunson as Oprah Winfrey. Weird Al Yankovic as Tony Scotti. Yeah, spoiler. Tony Scotti is one of the Scotti brothers, which is the record label that ultimately signed Weird Al. Will Forte as the other Scotti brother, Ben Scotti, in the scene where he's berating Weird Al and going so extra on him. I can't say so extra. I'm too old to say that, right? Okay. I got it. Going way too hard, over the top, super aggro. I feel like aggro I can still say. On Weird Al, that was definitely a top scene in the movie. Jack Black as Wolfman Jack. Lin-Manuel Miranda as the ER doc, which you see at the cold open, and then later when you find out why Weird Al was in the ER. Scott Aukerman is the police officer. I thought that was who I saw. Scott Aukerman, host of the Comedy Bang Bang podcast, which also is a TV show, which if you're not familiar with, I highly recommend. It's got a kind of absurdist Tim and Eric bent without the benefit of a team of editors, if that makes sense. Kind of like an adult's Pee-wee's Playhouse, but not. Similar, like Pee-wee's Playhouse, but for adults. And Dot Marie Jones is Mama Bear. I honestly don't remember her. I apologize. But that pool party scene had a bunch of cameos. And this is where it's like, they got all these people and it was $8 million. But I think that's more of a testament to just friggin' Weird Al. It's like, yeah, Weird Al, of course, we will do it. Conan O'Brien played Andy Warhol. Jorma Taccone, who is a member of Lonely Island with Andy Samberg and Akiva Schaffer. He played Pee Wee Herman, did a pretty decent job. Nina West is Divine, who I think was the large lady that had like half a shaved head and all that makeup, which wasn't she in that movie that was like, had that really gross scene in it? Pink Flamingo, was it? Flamingo something? Ugh. I never saw it, but I think my friend's dad had a VHS of it and I refused to watch it. I don't know. Sue me. Dimitri Martin is Tiny Tim, which I would like to see more of Dimitri Martin. Had his own show. I've always enjoyed his stand-up. What is he doing now? What's he thinking about? He's playing Tiny Tim in this movie. Paul F. Tompkins is Gallagher, doing a very embittered, embattled Gallagher, which I like that interpretation. David Dastmalchian as John Deacon, who is the guitarist for Queen or the drummer for Queen. One of those two. Apparently they try to get someone to play Freddie Mercury, but couldn't because of something, which I'll get to. It's lower down on my notes. And then Patton Oswalt, who this was originally a Funny or Die short in like 2010, I want to say. And then Patton Oswalt played Dr. Demento in the original short, and he was actually going to be Dr. Demento in this movie. And then he ended up breaking his ankle or something like that and couldn't do it. And so Rainn Wilson filled in, but he ends up getting a nice little cameo, a little bit part as a heckler at the bar. Michael McKean, who you might remember from Saturday Night Live. And was he in, not Strange Brew, but probably Strange Brew, that other sketch comedy show from Canada. Pretty good. But Michael McKean, I mean, he's been in all the great comedy movies. Mockumentaries, This is Spinal Tap, Best in Show, probably a bunch of others. He appears as the MC that introduces Weird Al. Josh Groban played a waiter. I'll be honest, went completely over my head. Didn't recognize or realize Josh Groban. I don't spend my entire day looking at fucking pictures of Josh Groban on the internets, okay? More of a John Mayer guy. Seth Green voices a radio DJ. You could have fooled me. I didn't pick up on that. And then Weird Al's real life wife, Suzanne Kujewski, appears uncredited as Tony Scotty's wife, Sylvie Vartan, which you see at the award show at the very end, the climax. They show his inspiration for My Bologna, which is a parody of My Sharona. I didn't realize he said My Bologna. It's just something like that awful part of my brain. I mean, we're talking about like grammar Nazi on like steroids. Part of my brain where it's just like he's saying it wrong. It's just like shut up and enjoy the frickin' song and the movie. Can you just relax? I mean, you're on edibles. Just relax. So there are parts of the movie that are true. It's just, you know, it kind of just goes like, it goes from like 100% true to like 90% true to 80% true. And by the halfway point of the movie to the second half of the movie is just like nothing's true. It just like gets completely out of hand, which I love. And like, I can't believe it took me that long to appreciate it. I was like, well, that can't be. No, that's not. No, he didn't. Well, that doesn't line up. So the bar scene is where he performs I Love Rocky Road. It's crazy how many songs Weird Al has about food. And I guess that's kind of like your life when there's drinking and drugs, Weird Al. Just do it. He performs I Love Rocky Road at the biker bar. And his three roommates fill in, which that was one quote unquote plot hole that I did not care for, but it ultimately it is pretty funny. That he's like keeps trying out for bands and he's telling his three roommates, I just can't, like I want to join a band, but maybe I should go solo. And they're just like, yeah, you should go solo. And then all of a sudden at the biker bar, they're just like all very proficient in the drums and the guitar. It's just like, he's like, wow, why didn't you guys, after the song's done, he's like, why didn't you guys tell me? And he's like, it just never came up. Like, yeah. Because as it's happening, I'm like, wait a minute. This disbelief is not in suspension. Throw the challenge flag. So that's where he catches the interest of Dr. Demento. That's where Dr. Demento has the pool party where Wolfman Jack attends. And he parodies Queen's Another One Bites the Dust with Another One Rides the Bus. And you hear these parodies and you're like, it just seems like it's so simple, but so like so simple, and especially the way, I mean, you watch Weird Al sing his songs, you watch his music videos, and they're definitely funny. He's just a funny person, head to toe, soup to nuts. But Daniel Radcliffe performing these songs where he is just, I mean, full throat, like veins sticking out. He's fucking going for it. And it just makes the song that much better. So he lands the record contract and goes multi-platinum. And there are a bunch of original artists that get the Yankovic bump, quote unquote, which you'll see in the trivia was a real thing. And then he is interviewed by Oprah Winfrey, and he has that slouch where you'd see from like a young Justin Bieber or like I don't know, it's like shirt open, gold chain. He has like the chain, the necklace with all the multi-platinum, discs on it. I thought that was good. But then they really start to mess with you at least with my sense of reality and logic, where they're basically saying that he ends up getting together with Madonna. And he does the song Eat It, and it's an original song, not a parody. And then Michael Jackson comes out with Beat It, which is a parody. And then you get to see the tables turned, and he like flips out and pisses him off. And then Madonna just eggs him on, like, yeah, we'll have a bottle of whiskey and, getting to drink and smoke and do drugs and all that. Which Eat It came to him when he accidentally did LSD with Dr. Demento. Dr. Demento is in his hot tub, like in his bathroom in his huge mansion. And he's eating like chips with guacamole. And so Weird Al has some chips with the guacamole. And then Dr. Demento's that's got a little bit of LSD in there. And so that's when he comes up with Eat It and his trip. When he performs Eat It on stage, he gets drunk, insults the crowd, and is arrested for lewdness. I didn't realize how good a body Daniel Radcliffe has. I mean, damn, Daniel. Like, he's got all right. And it's not like when I thought, I don't know what I expected, but, I almost forever think of Daniel Radcliffe as still that little Harry Potter. But I should really stop. Like, that's my first impression of him. But he's had a bunch of movies since then that have been like as far from child entertainment fanfare as possible. And they're all, so far as I can tell, really great. I have not seen What If yet. I think I would like to see What If because I think it may be a rom-com, and I'm like kind of off rom-coms right now because romance is dead and love is a hoax and my heart is black. My heart is black. That's my Rolling Stones autographs. You can Venmo me for autographs. Yeah. So he has a near fatal car accident, rushed to the hospital. That's the callback to the opening scene. But that's where he comes up with like a surgeon, which Madonna had been pushing for. She was basically using Weird Al, throughout their relationship to get ahead. And so she thought she would get that bump if he made a parody. So she was pushing on him to make a parody. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And eventually he caves in. Meanwhile, this is all going on. Like, if you haven't seen it, you're like, how's Pablo Escobar? Or if you didn't remember, like, what was Escobar's role? So Escobar wanted Weird Al to play for him as a birthday present. And Weird Al was like, no, I'm not down for that. Like, that's not who I am. And so eventually Escobar kidnaps Madonna. And then so Weird Al has to go to Bogota, Colombia, and rescue her. And that whole sequence is just it's just awesome. And that's when I think that's when that sequence was probably, and I know that's pretty late in the film, but that's when I was like, I fully embraced it. I was like all in, and I was like, yes. Why did it take me and my dumb brain so long to get on this ship? Before it was about as close to sailing off without me as possible. But he takes out Escobar, and then Madonna steps into the role. She's like, no, hold on. Let's not go back just yet. Like, someone needs to run the cartel. And Al's like, no, I'm cool. I'm not gonna go through with that. So I think he tries to quit music, or he does quit music, and he goes to work at his father's factory, which he thought was his dad's wish this entire time. The dad's like, no, actually, I gotta admit, you're too special for this line of work. And I've secretly supported you this whole time, which I thought was a nice little twist. And then that's when the dad reveals that he grew up in an Amish community, but he was excommunicated for taking up the accordion. And then that's what gives us Amish Paradise. So that was the other, again, that I wish I could have a procedure to remove this from my brain. The nitpicky part of this, when it's like, this Amish Paradise came out when Coolio was hot on the charts, top of the charts in like 94, 95. Gangsta's Paradise, 94, 95, possibly 96. But that it's 1985 is the year in the movie. And Amish Paradise ends up winning a big time award in 1985. And then Madonna, one of Madonna's henchmen, takes him out. So R.I.P. Weird Al, you will be missed. Such a comedic legend and genius. And again, even in the credits, they play with your head a little bit, because it's like, we're going to show you a bunch of real photos, and then we're going to show you a bunch of photos where you're like, no way, the Beatles. But it's like perfect. He parodied. Why didn't I see that coming? Where it's like, obviously this man is the like epitome, the top of the top, creme de la creme of song parody artists. Why wouldn't I think that his movie would be a parody as well? And he parodied everything, and it was just on par and just on fire. So great. It was shot in 18 days. Whew, that is fucking quick. I kudos to them for pulling that together, because I would never have thought, oh, this has the appearance of like an 18-day shoot. This feels like it's probably a 3-month ordeal. Why was Daniel Radcliffe chosen? Great question. Weird Al saw him sing The Elements on the Graham Norton show, and that stuck in his head when they started casting. Daniel was his first choice, and I gotta say, knocked it out of the park. Had Daniel Radcliffe turned down the role, this might make you blow some hot wind up your underwear. Not an expression. Come on. Adam Driver was the filmmaker's next choice. I can't see that. I don't know if I can see that. But maybe equally as funny. I mean, Adam Driver's a bigger guy. Radcliffe's a smaller guy. I never thought Weird Al was a smaller guy. So I think that just plays into the whole comedic aspect of it. It's like a guy that kind of can wear a mustache, but is like, I don't think of Adam Driver like that. Although, no, he's got some comedic chops. The Yankovic bump was a real thing, as I mentioned, but not to the level shown in the movie. Many artists saw an uptick in sales after Weird Al released a parody. Nirvana credited him with an extra 1 million units of Nevermind, and Chamillionaire has said his Grammy win was in part due to Yankovic's parody. So Chamillionaire was Riding Dirty, and Weird Al was White and Nerdy, I believe. I can't remember the Nevermind song. I think it's definitely a parody of Smells Like Teen Spirit, right? Yeah, it smells like something. And so this is what I was talking about with Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury was supposed to be at the pool party scene, but Queen said no. They allowed an appearance by John Deacon, who is the one who actually wrote Another One Bites the Dust, so it ended up working out. But and they lean into that, and they make a joke about that as well, like John Deacon, and then they all try to remember, so he has to say it out loud. So the breakdown on the stage when he gets drunk and he has his shirt off, I was like, as I'm watching, I was like, I can't quite place it. And I'll tell you why. Because The Doors with Val Kilmer, which I hear is a great movie, I have yet to see it from start to finish, but yet I've now seen 2 parodies of it. Possibly more. I'm going to say at least 5 parodies of it over the course of my life. And yet have still not watched The Doors. I got to watch The Doors. Even though it's probably tainted now that I've seen so many friggin' parodies, but I was like, this looks like Jim Morrison from The Doors, even though I don't, but it's a direct parody of Jim Morrison's outburst in Miami at a Miami concert in March of '69, which was also in the movie, directed by Oliver Stone. Yeah, so kudos again to Weird Al, and you gotta think that maybe if he lives another 20 years, we might see another one. I hope maybe this opens the door for just other like good parodies. I don't think we've had a lot of good parodies since Weird Al. I mean, like Naked Gun, Hot Shots. I forget what Naked Gun was. Naked Gun is a parody, and Hot Shots, I mean, those were great parodies. That was the 90s. That's the last time I saw it. I guess Walk Hard, Dewey Cox Story. That's a pretty good parody. I guess was Ricky Bobby Talladega Nights a parody of Days of Thunder, but not really. I've never seen Days of Thunder. That's another movie I should say. Dude, there were a lot of good movies that I couldn't see when I was 10 and 11. Okay? God. So what do the critics have to say? 84% of all critics gave it a favorable review with an average rating of 7.1 out of 10, and then top critics gave it an average rating of 7 out of 10. I would say I'm right there with them. I think I rated it a 7 on IMDb. The critics consensus says suitably silly. The movie spoofs the standard biopic formula with all the good-natured abandoned fans would expect. Good-natured abandoned fans will expect. Not abandoned fans. Although I guess if you're a fan of Weird Al, you're a fan of abandon. Like we're gonna abandon logic, reality, go off the wall. Dana Stevens from Slate, who's a top critic, said an appropriately goofy tribute to its subject and co-creator, a movie parody about the life of a parodist. And then I forget who said this one. Radcliffe is winningly guileless in his performance, twitching his costumey eyebrows and mustache like gentle bunny ears, even as he lip syncs Another One Rides the Bus with such commitment that his neck veins nearly pop. Yeah, dude. He went all out, and I really love him for it. He hasn't really made a ton of bad movies. Every movie he's been in, like, what was that movie that he was in? Guns Akimbo, I think it was called, where it's like he wakes up after a night of partying and he's got two guns, one gun in each hand, but like he can't get them off because they're like taped or stapled or something to his hands. It's like Edward Forty Hands, but with guns. And so then, hilarity ensues. But I love that movie. There was a movie where he grows horns, devil horns, I think, kind of out there. And I dug that. I thought that was cool. So yeah, I mean, Radcliffe's had a pretty sweet film career. And it deserves more love. He was also in Lost City with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock. Underrated 80s-esque comedy, adventure comedy. And he was decent in that. I thought it would be cool if it was more of a character-esque type person, but I guess they want to be, grounded a little more in reality. I don't know. So yeah, completely agree there. What did the audience have to say, Neal? Jesus Christ. So 83% of the audience gave it a favorable review with a 4.1 out of 5 average rating. It's a bit high, but it's in that range. I'd say if you're going to do 7 out of 10, yeah, I'd put it as a 4 out of 5, or at least a high 3 out of 5 for sure. And the audience says, fast-paced, funny, and star-studded. The Weird Al Yankovic Story is the not quite biopic that Weird Al fans have been waiting for. Yeah. And what's I say, who knows if there's not another one 20 years from now? Because apparently, like 30 years ago, they did the Complete Al, which was a mockumentary, I guess, about Weird Al, that was parodying the Beatles, the complete Beatles, or whatever that is. So, and he pulled a lot of the same, with the photos, like some real, some like look to be real but are actually fake. So, yeah. I wouldn't, and there's a tie, oddly enough, from Weird Al to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, if you want to stick around for that. All right, so that's Weird, the Al Yankovic Story.